and welcome to episode 43 of the Giddy Knits podcast. As usual, I'm Helen and I'm coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 5.5, and Jasper, who is 2.5. Today, I don't actually know what the date is. How badly organised is that? Is it the 16th today? It's something like that. It's the middle of June. I think it's the 16th of June. It is a Tuesday. And I am finally sitting down to record another podcast. Hopefully you will notice a bit of a lighting improvement. I invested in a couple of big studio lights, which are behind the camera, so you can't see them, but hopefully you can see the effect of them. And I finally put up some pictures to make the backdrop a little bit more interesting. This one here is just a postcard that I received in a swap, but it's really cute. This is a little painting that my mum did. And then this one over here is a lovely little print that I was gifted very kindly at Aberdeen Yarn Fest by Lorna, who is never at a loose end, and she has a blog. So yeah, that's all my things. I'm not wearing my glasses because unfortunately the light glare was a bit much with my glasses on, so that looks a bit different, but it did mean that I felt like I needed to put a little bit of makeup on because my glasses hide a multitude of sins when it comes to looking exhausted. So hopefully the makeup stopped me looking exhausted, but otherwise you get better lighting, you get better background, but I look exhausted. I don't know if that's really a good trade-off, but we'll find out. Anyway, what is this? This is my knitting podcast. I haven't even said that. And I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns. I feel out of practice, which is ridiculous considering I vlogged every day throughout May. But I haven't actually sat down to record anything since then. So yeah, I feel a bit out of practice, and I only managed to get the one podcast out in May, so it feels like it's been a little while since I last podcast. But let's see, what have I got to say? Hello and welcome. I've kind of done that bit. Welcome to anyone that is new. Thank you so much for coming and checking out the podcast. If you found me through the May vlogs, then this is the more regular kind of setup, I guess, the more regular kind of I can't think what I'm trying to say. This is what I more regularly put out there. This is the podcast that is supposed to happen every 2 weeks, but sometimes it takes a bit longer in between. This is a knitting podcast, did I say that? Knitting and occasionally a bit of crochet as well, and I do have a bit of crochet to share with you this week. So let's just get straight into what have I got for you this week, shall we, before I keep rambling forever. I'm going to start with a little announcement section. I've got one finished object to share with you. I've got a couple of works in progress. I've got a couple of new cast-ons. I was going to share a little bit of blanket progress this week because I haven't really shared any blanket progress for a little while. I have a little basket here full of yarny goodness to share with you as well. And then I was going to touch on a little bit of shop news, but to be completely honest, you're on top of most of the shop news. My tripod is on top of all my stock boxes, so I'm not really going to be able to share a lot for you to see, but I'll let you know kind of what's gone in the shop and things like that, I guess. Yeah, let's get into it then, shall we? This is actually the first cup of tea I've had this afternoon, and it's really needed. Right, so announcements. I just wanted to remind you that we have got a knit along running at the moment. We've got the Summer Shorties Cal, which is running in collaboration with Lily of Nordic Stitches, and it is to knit any of her Summer Shorties Sock Club 2019 patterns, so any of the 5 patterns in her sock club that released at the beginning of May, I believe. And we're co-hosting it, so the chatter thread is in my Ravelry group and the finished object thread is in her Ravelry group, and it's running until the end of June, so you've still got time to get your summer shorties in if you are knitting them. You get double entry if you use any of my yarn, so there we go. There will be prizes, and I will announce the prizes on the next podcast because the knit along will have ended and I will have been able to draw winners. I'm going for back for more tea. Yeah, so I think that is all the knit along kind of stuff. It's been really fun having a little look in the chatter thread and seeing what people are knitting and the different yarns that people are choosing to knit the patterns. And even more fun when I see people who are knitting it in the official Wildflower collection, which was the collection that I dyed up specifically for those patterns. Okay, so let's move on to the knitting then, shall we? I have a finished object. I have finished a pair of socks, and these are what I'm calling my Haunted Mansion socks. So they're just simple vanilla socks, and how much better is that lighting? That makes me very, very happy. So yeah, these are my, they're vanilla socks, so just my standard recipe. I do 68 stitches. I've got no idea how long I knit the leg, just until I kind of felt like it. I think I probably did about 10-12 rows of rib. I don't really follow much of a recipe. I use a German short row heel, and I'm pretty much sure I use the German short row heel from pretty much any of the Knitting Expat Mina Phillips patterns that use a German short row heel, because that's how I learnt to do a short row heel. And then I just knit down the foot, obviously, until the length required, and then I put in a toe, just a standard toe, and again I'm pretty sure the toe will be the toe from any of the Mina Phillips socks, possibly, probably, I don't know. I just kind of do the same toe every time. But the yarn is the lovely Haunted Mansion colourway from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. This was one of her colour of the months for last year. This was her kind of, oh, I assume it was an October colour of the month because it was a Halloween colour. I love how this is knitted up in the kind of stripes and speckles. I think it's so much fun. So yeah, a lovely pair of socks finished for me. What else? Oh, in talking about socks, I remember I never talk about what size I knit things on and stuff like that. So I went through more detail this week about kind of how I knit my socks, but just to say as well, I knit my socks on 2.5mm needles. I'm quite a tight knitter, so I tend to have to go up a needle size. So yeah, I knit my socks on 2.5mm needles, but I use a variety of needles. I think my favourites at the moment are higher sharps, but I do use a lot of Knit Pro Zings as well. I like a metal needle. I'm not a big fan of wood. Right. There we go. Look, I've told you more details about how I knit my socks than ever before. But that is my only finished object for this week. But I do have some works in progress to share with you. I'm trying to work out where to put things. So I've got 3 works in progresses to share, and they've all seen a little bit of progress. So let's start with my Pure Joy shawl, which is living in this lovely project bag from Jem of the Little Grey Girl, who you will hear about a lot this week, because looking at it, pretty much all of my project bags that I'm using this week are from her. So if I don't tell you who they're from, assume they're from the Little Grey Girl. But I picked this bag up at Edinburgh. It's one of her brand new luxury drawstring bags. Really, really nice. Anyway, living in here is my Pure Joy shawl. Now the Pure Joy shawl is a pattern by Johi Locatelli. I believe. You know when you're having one of those moments of doubting yourself? I'm sure it is. Yes, it is. It is a pattern by Johi Locatelli, and I am knitting it in these 2 lovely colours of Ching fibres, however you want to say it. This is the Cactus colourway. It's gorgeous speckled colour. And then this one here is the Platinum colourway. And here is the shawl. Oops, except I'm losing it. Now, I think I forgot to move the Progress Keeper. So I've got my lovely little Cream Egg Progress Keeper on there. I think I forgot to move that after our last podcast. So I haven't made quite as much progress as it looks like I have, but I'm pretty sure I have knit one of these wedges. And I am actually at the end of this wedge now, ready to put the next bit of grey in. So it is growing. See if I can hold that a little bit more sensibly for you. And I am absolutely loving how these colourways are knitting up. It's really fun. It makes quite a long, quite a thin shawl. So it's really kind of, it works really, really well as a scarf. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful how this is knitting up. And the yarn, as I said, it's King Fibres, but the yarn base I'm using is their BFL High Twist. I'll give you the, oh, see now I can't see whether that's focusing or not. Is that focusing? Hopefully it's focused for you. It's their BFL High Twist. It's 100% superwash BFL wool. And I'm loving it. Yeah, really, really nice. And in fact, there you go, there's their logo. And this is yarn that I also picked up at Edinburgh Yarn Festival this year, so it's really nice to be knitting with some of my EYF haul. So that is my first work in progress, which needs to attempt to go back into this bag. Oh, and I'm knitting that, because I never talk about my needles, I'm knitting that on 4.5mm Knit Pro Zings. I quite like the Knit Pro Zings. Some people moan about the joins, but they don't bother me. I think the pattern called for a 4mm, but I have automatically gone up because, as I said a minute ago, I am quite a tight knitter, so I tend to need to go up a needle size. Okay, so my next work in progress, living in this lovely little bag, also by the little grey girl, of course. This was the bag that came with the first quarter of the Mystery Gem. Gem does a thing, she calls her Mystery Gems, and you sign up and she collaborates with a yarn dyer, so she creates a bag and the yarn dyer creates a yarn, all based on a theme and based on a mood board. And this one was in collaboration with Spectrum Fibres, and I've shown you the yarn before, but this was a kind of a Neverland inspired, so the fabric is wonderful kind of Peter Pan Neverland inspired fabric. And living in here, in fact I just need to steal a sock blocker back. Living in here are my Honeybee Dance socks, and the Honeybee Dance pattern is a pattern by Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade. It was part of the Sock Society last year, I believe. I'm not weaving that end in very well, but oh well. Here they are. Let me show you this way around. So I have finished the first sock, and I'm knitting these out of the Lay Family Yarn and Friends mini skein club, the one she did with a collaboration. So this one is a collaboration with Betsy Makes. So the yarn is a mix of Lay Family Yarn minis and Betsy Makes minis. But I just thought they'd work really well for this pattern. And what I've done is the pattern repeat is a 12 stitch repeat. Let me just turn the leg round. It won't be quite right on the sock blocker, but if I can turn it round a little bit wonky on the sock blocker for you. Yeah, there we go. It's worked with the toe. The pattern repeat is a 6-row repeat. And what I've done, I don't know if you can quite see there, what I've done is I've basically changed colour. So I've done one pattern repeat in each colour, going down the leg and the foot. And it's worked really well with these socks. I'm really pleased with how it's come out. The only one I didn't quite put in properly is this one here, which I've used for the heel and toe, because I could see from the skein that it was going to be quite a crazy micro striping, crazy pooling kind of colourway, as you can really see on the toe there. And I didn't think that would quite fit in with the rest of the yarns as I went down the foot. But I embraced the craziness and I thought, you know what, I'll just use it for the heel and toe. And actually it's quite fun, and I don't really mind the craziness when it comes to the heel and toe. But yeah, I'm really enjoying those. I have just started the first colour of the second sock. So I've done the cuff. Basically I finished the first colour, so I've done that, and then I just need to start the second colour and carry on down the foot of the second sock. And I'm knitting these on 2.5mm higher sharps, and I'm using one of my lovely needle cozies from Craft House Magic. These are brilliant because if you're a fan of higher sharps like me, the needles are really quite sharp, and the number of times they point through, like poke through my project bags, that really annoys me. So I find these little needle cozies really good for stopping that happening. But yeah, so I've got all my little minis in there, which are all going to fall out. And I just need to get the second sock done for that one, but I've really enjoyed them. I've knit the largest size, which is a 72 stitches. Now, as I said, I tend to knit my socks with 68 stitches, which is a really odd number, and I'm aware of that. Most people do kind of 56 for small, 64 for medium, and 72 for large. But I find 64 stitches just a little bit too tight. And then, of course, 72 stitches is just a little bit too loose. Now, looking at the pattern, I probably actually could have reduced it down to 68 stitches, because I'd have needed to take out, what, 4 stitches, which I could have done probably quite happily. I could have worked that out with the way that the pattern works on the leg. I probably could have taken out some of these stitches here, and it still would have looked okay. But we'll see. I haven't actually tried it on yet to see whether it fits, which I really should do, shouldn't I? But yeah, that's my next work in progress. I need more tea because I don't want this tea to go cold because it's really nice. So my next work in progress is my So Faded sweater, which is a lovely sweater pattern by Andrew Mowry. It's been around for a while and it's been very, very popular. Now, which ball of yarn am I attached to? That one there. So you can knit this pattern in a variety of different ways. I'm just trying to find all the bits and pieces while I'm talking to you. Right, there we go. Yeah. So the pattern itself, also living in, actually I should show you this one because this is a kind of a yarny goodness thing, a new purchase. I picked this one up at Leeds Yarn Festival where I was exhibiting, and Jem was also exhibiting. We were stored up next to each other. We shared a hotel room, and we kind of did a swap really. So I kind of feel like a lot of my yarny goodness I didn't actually purchase so much, so it doesn't feel quite so bad, but this was a swap. She had some yarn and I had one of these lovely big bags. I needed some more big bags. Anyway, you want to see the project, don't you? So this is my So Faded, and I really need to put it on longer needles. I probably said that last time, but here we are. So I am now on the 3rd colour, and this is how it is looking so far. So basically, as I said, in the pattern there are multiple ways of knitting this. So you can do a cropped version with kind of short sleeves that uses kind of 3 colours, or you can do a longer version. I'm doing the longer version, probably with long sleeves, although I may do quarter length sleeves. I have 3/4 length sleeves, I haven't quite decided, but I'm using 5 colours. Because for a jumper for me, I need more than 3 skeins of yarn. I need more than 3 colours to knit the size that I need. And I just thought I'd just go with the 5, so why not? So the first colour in here is by Nora George, and the colourway is Fleckle. Not sure I've got, oh no, I have got the label. So it's Nora George yarns, and the colourway, let's get it the right way up, is Fleckle. These are all 75/25 merino nylon yarn bases, but that one has knit up really lovely. And then I've gone into this colour here, which is hang on, which one is it? Yes, it's this one. It's Fuse Fibre Studios. It's one of the ones that Tom picked me up on one of his work trips to America, in the Carousel colourway. And that is that second colour there. And I am currently working on the 3rd colour, which is this one here, with my lovely Strawberry Progress Keeper. This is from Hannah of the Corner of Craft, and this was one of the ones that she did for my cupcake club. I had a few spare cupcake clubs, and I sent her the yarn from one of the spare cupcake clubs, and I kept the Progress Keeper. But the colourway that I am knitting with now is by Down Sheepy Lane, and this is the Grandma's Garden colourway. So yeah, I'm making slow but steady progress on this. I have, as you can see, I have split for the sleeves. And I have worked kind of maybe 3 inches since splitting for the sleeves. But it is now in kind of giant sock mode. It is literally, there's no body shaping. It's just round and round and round, and then changing colours at whatever stage you need to. The pattern's really clever. In the pattern, she gives you the formula, kind of the mathematical formula for working out how often you need to change colours based on the total length of the garment that you want. So I know that for me, I do 3.5 inches of the colour, and then the fade section, and then 3.5 inches. So basically 3.5 inches of each colour. I did slightly more of the top colour, as you can see, and that is because, and she does recommend that in the pattern, and that is because it does have some neck shaping at the front, and if you don't do extra, then at the front here you don't actually get any of the colour before you go straight into the fade section. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of having this done, which is ridiculous because I'm not really anywhere near done yet, but I just need to work on it, don't I? That's the thing. I just need to pick it up and work on it. And to be fair, it's the kind of thing that I could actually sit and work on while I'm talking to the camera, but I would be looking at my knitting and not at you, so I won't do that. And then the next 2 colours to go in are this one, which will be going in this. So this is the colour I'm currently working on. This is Grandma's Garden by Down Sheepy Lane. This is the colour that's going to go in next. And this is by Yarns Over New York, exclusively for woolen. It's one of the ones that Tom picked me up when he was in New York for work. It's quite handy, really. I don't tend to order a lot of American yarn. Well, in fact, I don't think I've ever ordered American yarn, just because of the customs and the shipping costs and everything like that. And then the third colour will be this one here to finish it all off, and this is a Down Sheepy Lane yarn in the Absolutely Alice colourway, which was from one of her Tim Burton film clubs this year. So yeah, I need to get on with the jumper because I really, really, really want the finished object. Okay, so moving on to new cast-ons. I have got 2 new cast-ons today, and the first one is a sock living in my lovely little sock bag. And I have cast on one of my own self-striping colourways. So this is a new self-striping colourway. This is called Cactus Flower, and it is a 3 colour repeat. And here it is. So I've got no idea what went wrong here. Just ignore that little hole. I was knitting on this at Aberdeen, and apparently I don't know what I've done. I've either dropped a stitch or I haven't dropped a stitch. I think I may have dropped a stitch and then I've put it back on the needle and done something funny. So I've got a hole, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, this is my Cactus Flower colourway. It's just a lovely 3, oh, tangled up with the needles. What's going on? Okay. It's a lovely 3 colour repeat. And I'm really enjoying this. So this is just at the stage now where it needs a heel, but I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for a heel. I don't know whether to have a look and see if I've got a contrast mini, or whether I'm going to knit down the foot and then this ball keeps trying to roll off my lap. Whether I'm going to just keep knitting down to the foot and then put an afterthought heel in, but I'm not very good at afterthought heels. I find it really hard to make them fit. So then I'm wondering, maybe I'll just knit through the heel and risk messing up the stripe sequence. I can never decide what to do with a heel when it comes to self-striping. To be honest, if I wasn't knitting this as a sample, I would automatically stick a contrast heel in and be done with it. And that's how I would do it. I would do a short row heel in a contrast colour. But because this is a sample, I've found anyway, certainly at Leeds and Aberdeen, I found that there were a few customers who got confused by there being a contrast heel, and they thought that that would just happen when they got to that bit of the ball. And I can kind of understand what they're thinking. If they're not kind of aware of self-striping, I can kind of understand how that might be thought. But yeah, I kind of need to decide whether I'm just gonna, if I just knit through, then they can see exactly what it will look like if they just knit through the heel as normal. But then I do prefer it with a contrast heel because that's how I would knit it. So yeah, I need to have a little think, but I'm really enjoying this colourway and how it's knitting up. So that's kind of just my vanilla socks at the moment. I like to have some vanilla socks on the go for when I'm out and about, in the car, when the boys are playing, and I can get a little bit of something easy to do, easy done, something like that. You know what I'm trying to say. And I have one more new cast on, which is a completely random new cast on, but I am absolutely loving it. I cast this on as a sample because I put together, for Aberdeen, I put together some kits for the PPS shawl, the Pattern Please shawl by Louise Tilbrook. And I obviously needed to start a sample. Now, obviously, as you can see, the sample was not finished for Aberdeen, but I was always kind of expecting that to happen. But I did get the stripy section in, so you can see how the kits would work. I don't have any more of these kits available at the moment, I'm afraid, because they've sold out, but it's basically just a fingering weight skein and then a bundle of my minis, and there are a few minis in the shop. But I'm loving how this is knitting up. So as I said, this is the PPS, which is the Pattern Please shawl by Louise Tilbrook Designs, and the colourways I'm using are the Sea of Adventure is the main colourway, which is one of my new bedtime story collection colourways. And then I have used one of my gradient mini bundles, and this is the May Blooms set, which give you the lovely stripes. And I'm really, really enjoying this. I would recommend this pattern massively. It is a really mindless, really simple knit and really effective. It's basically kind of like knitting a giant mitered square with a little bit of decreases in different places, but it is so simple, and it's just going to be a gorgeous squishy garter stitch shawl. Nothing too big, but I think it's going to be just the right size for kind of a spring summer. Just pop it around your neck when it's a little bit chilly. And you now get, so I've now got to the stage where you start some slightly thicker stripes towards the end. So yeah, really enjoying working on this shawl, and I would highly recommend the pattern. So yeah, as I said, the yarn I'm using is this one, which is the Sea of Adventure, which is part of my new bedtime story collection, which I will talk about a little bit later on. So yeah, so that is all my new cast-ons as well, and all my kind of standard knitting content. I wanted to go and touch on a little bit of blanket progress. Sorry, looking down at my show notes, because I haven't shared my blankets. It doesn't feel like I've shared my blankets on the podcast in ages, and I have made some progress. So I will start with Arthur's blanket. Now, for anyone that is new, oh, I'm throwing my crochet hook on the floor. This is Arthur's blanket. Now I am crocheting Arthur a blanket. It's getting to be a good size now. There we go, there's the bottom. That will technically that's the top. If we're being fussy, technically that's the top. And I am using minis from Down Sheepy Lane. So last year Debbie did a series of monthly colour of the month throughout the month, and her colour of the month was Disney inspired every month, and she also did mini bundles. And if you've been a viewer of the podcast for a while, you'll know that throughout last year I purchased all of Debbie's mini bundles with the aim of making Arthur a Disney blanket, and that is what I am doing. So each bundle came with 5 colours, and what I have done is I've taken those 5 colours, I've picked out each month I've just chosen one colour to only do one square with, and then I've kind of repeated the colour to create 9 squares across for each month. So probably can't see very well on this top row, but let's go for this row here because you can see it kind of a lot more easily. You've got kind of that reddish square in the middle, and then it goes 2 green, 2 speckled, 2 orange, and then the 2 pink. And I've done that with each month. So I am currently at January, February, March, April, May, June. So I am halfway through the blanket now. And yeah, it's really, really going to look lovely. Arthur is already in love with it and he wants it straight away. I'm just bordering it with an undyed kind of colour. I'm regretting my choice of joining, I have to say. I found this technique which gives you this kind of lovely, I don't know, kind of like a lovely train track in between each square. Can you see? And it looks great. It looks really effective and I really like the way it looks. I just hate doing it. Yeah, I really hate doing it. It's fiddly and I kind of wish that I had just not bothered and just gone straight and just joined them as I would normally do. But oh well. But I'm being very good, and if I show you the back, you can see I've been weaving in my ends as I go along. So that's really good. So yeah, June is now in and joined in. And I should tell you what all the months were, shouldn't I? I'm not sure I'd be able to remember off the top of my head. I know that January was Frozen. I think February was Beauty and the Beast. March, ooh, I've got no idea. March, April. Was March the Little Mermaid? I feel like maybe March was the Little Mermaid, or I can't remember what March was. I'd need to look them up. April was the Lion King, definitely. February, April, May even. Was May's Aladdin? I think May might have been Aladdin. And June was Monsters Inc. And then I have crocheted up the squares for July. So July was Moana, I believe. So I have got my my 9 squares from the Moana colourways all crocheted up and ready to be joined. So they just need the white borders around them so that I can then join them into the blanket. And I've actually got the next 2 bundles. I've got the August and September bundles sat on the side there ready to cake up so that I can work on those when I get chance. So that is kind of my biggest blanket project on the go at the moment. Oh, I'm putting that back in the wrong bag. Excuse the crinkling. I keep the big blanket just in one of these wool warehouse bags with the joining yarn. And then I've just got, it's not very, I should put this in a project bag, really, shouldn't I? At the moment, I've just got them living in a Ziploc bag. But I really should grab a project bag. I have enough project bags to be able to put those in a project bag. I will do that after I record. So then my other kind of long-term big blanket project is still living in this little box here. And this is my Battenberg blanket. Now I have made some good progress on this blanket. I started this over Advent, and I spent all of Advent crocheting up my squares for my Advent calendars and for my Advent swaps, and making lots and lots of little, lots and lots of little crocheted squares to go in my Battenberg blanket from various swap partners and things like that. But then it came to joining them, and the way the Battenberg blanket works, you do kind of one square of your colourful ones and then a neutral, and I've picked grey as my neutral. And then of course you have to crochet up as many in the plain colour as you do in the colourful colours, and that's what I failed to do. So I've been trying to be quite strict with myself. I do need to steal myself another skein of grey yarn from the shop actually at some point. I've been quite strict with myself recently, and I've made myself crochet up a load of grey squares, and just then pick out, because I've got this box, if you can see without everything falling out, there's a few, let me take out those few random minis that are in there. So I've got quite a lot of squares crocheted up in this box already, and these are all the colourful ones. Dropped one. So yeah, I need to crochet up the grey squares to join them. Anyway, enough of that rambling. What I've decided to do as well is I've now settled on a width for my blanket. So this is the width of my blanket. So it's going to be kind of a good sized lap blanket is my plan. I kind of wanted it to sort of nicely fit over my lap, or just about fit over Tom and I if we were both snuggled up on the sofa. And I don't know why I'm kind of showing you down there, because you can't see down there at all, can you? Sorry about that. But the aim is that it'll be kind of a lap blanket size. But I have started working in rows now, because I'm just finding that that is more productive, I think, and easier to do the joining. Because I was just trying to get as many of the colours in, and then I didn't have any greys, and then yeah, so I've still got a little bit random here where I wasn't working in the rows, but hopefully I can get on with it and I can do some more greys. But yeah, it's definitely seeing some progress, as you can see, and I am being very, very random about what colours I put in and what colours I pick out, so there's no real colour management at all going on here. So yeah, that is my other kind of big blanket in progress. But I have got my sample blankets, which I thought I would share quickly as well. And I started a new sample blanket. So this is my current sample blanket, which you'll have seen a few times. This is all kind of Giddy Yarns yarn. And it's great for shows. It gets a lot of interest at shows, and it's really nice to be able to kind of point out ones that I've got on the stall and how they knit up and things like that. So you've got these 5 here, which I think are relatively new ones. These are all the Wildflower collection, and these are all in the shop at the moment. And then I've got, what have I got? Let Me Count the Ways, got that in the shop. Then there's the 5 from the Spring Garden collection. They're all in the shop. And then these 5 here are the new Sea of Adventure collection. They're all in the shop too. Yeah, and then there's a variety of kind of other ones. Some of these are older colourways that won't be repeated. But it's still kind of nice to just see the variety of my yarns and things like that. So this will continue to get added to as new colourways turn up, but it's just a fun kind of sample. And then I decided to do a similar thing but with crochet, so people can see how things crochet up at a show. So this so far has got the Spring Garden collection, the Wildflower collection, and the Bedtime Story collection in, because they were kind of the new colourways that were going to be at the show. But I'm just doing little crocheted hexagons, and these are really enjoyable. So I need more colours of mine. But I was missing working on my sample blanket when I had no colourways. So I decided that I was actually going to start, and I have started, a mitered square blanket for me, just so that I can use all my random minis. Yeah, basically. So this will be mine. It's not going to be all Giddy Yarns. In fact, there is one Giddy Yarns in here. This is the Sea of Adventure, and then I think this is a Down Sheepy Lane mini. So is this, and this one was a Skein Queen mini. This was one of the ones I used for the hat for the gnome that I knit for Natalie Gnome. So yeah, I'm just going to work on this as and when I need some mindless knitting in an evening or something like that, and create myself a little mitered square blanket, because I'm really enjoying the sample one. So why not do one for me? So that is all my blanket progress. I don't have any other blankets on the go, thankfully, because I think that's kind of 5, isn't it? So that is more than enough blankets. I'm just going to move some bits around a second. There we go. So in that case, we need to move on to yarny goodness, don't we? I need a little drink first. I feel like I'm talking like 100 miles an hour, which I always do anyway, but also it's really bright. It's going to take a bit of getting used to. So I have a basket of yarny goodness here to share with you all. I've no lie, I can't quite remember. I think it's been at least 3 weeks, maybe a month since I last recorded. So there is rather a lot here. I've also obviously attended 2 shows and a few other bits and ordered a few bits. So let's dig in, shall we? In no particular order. I'll pop it next to me. Right, let's start with this one. So first of all, I have got my most recent Lay Family Yarn and Friends mini skein club. And this is actually the last one, I believe. Yeah, I don't think she did one for June, because she's had to stop them for financial reasons. Basically, I think with tax and stuff like that, it's just not going to carry on going ahead, unfortunately. But this is this month's. So her collaborator this month was Beehive Yarns. And I'm just, don't know if I've got the little, oh yes I do, here it is, buried down the bottom of the box. I was going to say, I usually have, so the way the club worked was that she also collaborated with So Sweet Violet, who created these lovely little lavender pouches out of Liberty fabric, and then the dyers, so Lay Family Yarns and her collaborator, in this case Beehive Yarns, collaborated to dye up yarn inspired by the lavender sachet. So as I said, this is the lavender sachet fabric for this month, and these are the minis that Beehive Yarns came up with. Absolutely beautiful. And then these are the ones that Kelly came up with. Also beautiful. And my plan is actually to make scrappy socks with all of the different minis. And that's what I'm doing with the Honeybee Dance socks at the moment. And if you have watched before, you'll have seen in a previous episode, I also finished, I did a pair of scrappy socks, just simple vanilla scrappy socks with them as well. So these will get put aside and they will become scrappy socks at some point. Pop the lavender sachet somewhere safe with it all. Let's pop it this side of me. And then what else have I got? Okay, I picked this skein up. So the lovely Yarns from the Plain were having a trunk show at Fluff in Dundee, which is my local yarn store, run by Leona, who is the dyer behind Rusty Ferret. And I picked up this skein. Whoops. Or technically Arthur picked up this skein. He chose this skein. It is 75% British wool and 25% nylon. And I think, is it the colourway? Is it called Archie? Or, yeah, I think the colourway is called Archie. But it's just this gorgeous variegated purple colour. And Arthur wants me to make him some mittens or a cowl or a hat or something like that out of it. He does love purple. So this will be for Arthur. And then what else did I... Well, let's have a little look, shall we? So that was a purchase. That's a club. That's kind of a club. That was a swap. That was a gift. Okay. Yes. So this living in here. So I purchased from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane this wonderful kit. And this is for the Jus shawl, which is a new shawl. Let's see if I can get that so that you can see it. It's a new shawl designed by Therese of Brixton Pearl. And Debbie has put together these gorgeous, gorgeous kits for the shawl. The shawl is being released on the summer solstice, the 21st of June. And these are the gorgeous kits that Debbie has put together. Absolutely stunning. So I couldn't resist this kit, because not only am I a big lover of Therese at Brixton Pearl, I'm also a big lover of Debbie's yarn. So yeah, that was a little treat to myself after Leeds. And then the other kind of purchases, I guess, are clubs. So talking of Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane, I received her Tim Burton Film Club for May, which was brain's gone. Who was it? What was it? May. It was I'm holding the yarn in my hand and I still can't get Sweeney Todd. Still can't get the name of the film. It was Sweeney Todd was the inspiration this month. So if you haven't received yours yet, which you should have done because it is now June and it's mid-June, but anyway, I'm going to show it. So this is the lovely colour that Debbie has dyed, and she's called this Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And it is really out of my colour comfort zone with reds, but I love it. Yeah, really lovely. And it came with this lovely pie progerss keeper. Oh, that's gone the wrong way around. It looks like a Pac-Man, doesn't it, that way around? Oh, we'll go the right way around. There we go. A lovely pie progerss keeper, if my camera will focus. No? Anyway, there you go. Pie progerss keeper. And it's got the Mrs. Lovett's meat pies serving people since 1846. So that is the first of my clubs. And then the other thing is the mystery gems that I was talking about. So the second instalment of Gems mystery gem arrived, but this only arrived last week, I think, or this week in fact. No, last week. It must have been last week because it's only Tuesday today. But this was inspired by Carousel's, the Fairground edition, she calls it. And the collaborator this month was Fine Fish Yarns. So if you've not received yours yet, then don't look. But this is the lovely bag that Gem has made. So it's this gorgeous carousel fabric. Really lovely. One of her pyramid bags. And the yarn dyed by Fine Fish Yarns is this one. It is absolutely beautiful. I love these bits of navy at the top here. Really, really stunning. And this is on her superwash merino nylon base, although it looks like a high twist. And the colourway is merry-go-round. Really lovely. So I'm really happy with that. I've got no idea what this is going to become. But yeah, I could imagine this going really, really, really well with the Spectrum Fibres one, actually, and maybe I might find another fade. So that was that. And then the other things are various little bits and pieces. Talking of Gem, I also swapped for this little bag at Leeds because I couldn't resist. This gorgeous rainbow bag. It's just so lovely. So I can now put that to good use. And then Gem was very kind and gifted me a skein of yarn at Leeds. She has been knitting an armour sweater by Maddie Harvey, and she's knitting it out of the yarn by the Wool Kitchen, which is this yarn here. And she actually had a spare skein of this yarn. which she very kindly gifted to me at Leeds. And it's gorgeous grey base with rainbow speckles, absolutely stunning. It's called Moon Hopping, it's the name of the colourway, and this one is a Superwash BFL, and it's a DK weight. So I'm not quite sure what this is going to become yet, but it's quite possible that I might use it in a similar way for something like the armour sweater as the pop of colour, if that makes any sense. But until then, it will live very happily in my stash while I decide what to do with it. And then I have two more little things in here. The last thing, this was a swap at Aberdeen. I was stalled up opposite the lovely Erin of Henny Penny Makes, who I have got to know quite well. She has a little girl who's the same age as Jasper, so we've met up a few times for play dates, which has been really nice because she's relatively local to me. And this is one of her subtle stripes. And this is a sock set, so it's 80 grams of the main colour and 20 grams of the coordinating colour. She does this lovely kind of subtle stripe. So it's a 2 stripes, but one of the stripes is variegated. And this is the delphiniums and cherio. I don't know the name. I can't even pronounce that word. But the delphiniums is the colour, the variegated colour within her subtle stripes. But I saw her knitting on her sample of this when I was at, well, when we were having a play date, and when she had it on the stall, I couldn't resist, and we just did a swap. So I had this, and she had one of the skeins of my yarn. So that's really, really nice. And then the last thing was a lovely gift. So in May, I sent a little package to Ali of Little Drops of Wonderful, because I wanted to, and why not? And she sent me a little package back. So she has sent me one of her dodgy bags. So I have this lovely yellow dodgy bag. She calls them, so if you don't watch Ali's podcasts, Ali loves making these bags. She doesn't sell them, she just makes them for gifts and for swaps and things like that. And she calls them her dodgy bags because she says that they're not that great and they're a bit dodgy. But to be honest, I can't see anything dodgy about it at all. I think it's fantastic. And I can't wait to start using it properly. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm part of a special club having a dodgy bag. I'm really, really pleased. So thank you so much, Ali. And she also sent me a lovely little notebook because, as she said in her note, she was impressed to see how organised I was with all my planning for the shows. And you can never have too many notebooks for planning, which is very true. And the other lovely thing she sent me is one of her lovely, if I can get the camera to focus. Come on, camera. Oh, don't focus on me. Focus on the pin. No? Oh, come on, camera. Be good. Be nice. Anyway, it's one of her Little Drops of Wonderful pins. There you go. I think you can just about see it there. And I love these. These are so cute. And this says on it, "You are a little drop of wonderful." So yeah. If I pop that information up there, you can see there as well. So she is Drops of Wonderful on Etsy, and she just sells the pins on Etsy. I believe she has a couple of new pin designs coming soon. But yeah, they are absolutely lovely. So I'm really glad to have one of that. And I think that the pin kind of needs to live on my dodgy bag because they kind of feel like they need to go together. So now I need a project to put in this bag. And that is all of my yarny goodness. It felt like there was quite a lot there actually, but to be fair, it's been a little while and I've been at a couple of shows, so I was bound to pick up a few bits and pieces along the way, wasn't I? Now I just need to get on with knitting it all. So yeah, I was just going to touch on a little bit of shop news before I leave you all. Although I do need to, it looks like I'm going to need to delete some pictures or something off my camera before I can carry on recording. So I better do that quickly. Turns out I still had 4 days worth of May Vlogs videos on my phone, and that's why it was telling me my memory was full. So they've been deleted and it's all fine now. So shop news. I was going to touch on a little bit of shop news. So I did have a shop update on Sunday. It was my post-show update. There is still lots in the shop right now. So I basically updated it with the entire wildflower collection has been updated, as well as the entire spring garden collection. There is the new bedtime story collection, which is, oops, if I get my blanket out, this is going to be the easiest way to show you, because unfortunately they're in the bottom box that you're on top of 3 boxes and they're in the bottom one. But these 5 here are the new bedtime story collection. So there's the Sea of Adventure, which is an Enid Blyton book, George's Marvellous Medicine by Roald Dahl, The Secret Garden by, oh, I should know the name of that one, shouldn't I? I don't know. Anyway, it's not going to come to me. Railway Children's that Inez bit, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is a C.S. Lewis. The Secret Garden wasn't, no, Louise, I want to say Louisa May Alcott, but that was Little Women, wasn't it? I'm not 100% sure on The Secret Garden. Anyway, so these are all dyed, but they're inspired by the book covers of these books. And I shared all those book covers on the May vlogs. So if you watch those, you will have seen them, and I have shared them all on Instagram as well, so you can kind of see the inspiration behind the colourways. But basically, these are kind of my favourite books from childhood that I can really remember having read to me as bedtime stories, and ones that I'm really looking forward to reading to my boys. We've already read George's Marvellous Medicine to Arthur as a bedtime story, and he absolutely loved it. So these colourways are currently available in the shop. I believe I have at least one, I think, so the Railway Children and the Sea of Adventure are both currently dyed to order because they sold out, but I believe the others are still in stock at the moment. And I've got little blanket bundles, so perfect for adding into your blankets as well. So yes, and all my semi-solids have been updated, and there's also mini bundles and fade kits and stuff like that. The shop is pretty much full. Advent wise, I think I've got 1 or 2 advents left in this month's upload of advents, but as I've mentioned before, I'm trying to keep my advents as accessible as possible, so I am listing 10 advents a month. So I listed 10 in May, 10 in June, I'll be listing 10 in July, 10 in August, and then 10 in September, I think. Although the September ones may be listed slightly late in September. It all depends on how sales are going, because I would like to take some with me to Perth ready to ship. But anyway, my point being, there will be more listed in July and August and September, and then they ship out in October, and any remaining ones that haven't sold will be boxed up, and they will then be sold ready to ship in kind of up until Christmas, really, for people who may have not decided until the last minute that they want one. Yeah, but it gives you, the idea is it gives you the opportunity to save up. They're £65. They come with 24 10-gram minis and a pattern designed by Therese of Brixton Pearl, designed to work perfectly with those minis. And yeah, the idea is that you can save up. I want to make them as accessible. I've not purchased an advent yet. They're a big purchase. I'm lucky enough that as a yarn dyer, I will probably swap advents. I think I'm going to be swapping advents with Erin of Henny Penny Makes. We're going to swap. So I know that I will be getting an advent that way, which is part of the reason why I've not purchased one. And I will probably also take part in a swap at some point, like advent swaps where you send minis out. So yeah, but they are a big purchase and I completely understand that. So I want to make them as accessible as possible. What else? Cupcake Club. The Cupcake Club has been selling quite slowly this month. I don't think even half of them have sold yet, which is a little bit of a shame. I have had the gorgeous Progerss keepers from Indy at Front Pocket Studios. So they have arrived and they are stunning. They are absolutely beautiful. And in fact, when she was showing me the design, I did ask her if she could add in an extra one for me because I needed one desperately. So they are absolutely stunning, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This month is kind of inspired by all things birthday cake. So think sprinkles. That's kind of my big inspiration this month is sprinkles. The cupcake itself will be quite a simple cupcake, but one of my absolute favorite cupcakes. And yeah, so for the Cupcake Club, if you haven't been watching before, if you're new, the Cupcake Club is my sort of yarn club this year. And you get 120 grams of yarn. So you get a full skein of yarn and a mini, I'm just wondering where I put them. They're there. I'm wondering if I can get to last month's. Bear with me 2 seconds. I can get to them. I've got a couple of spares in the shop currently for last month. So basically the concept, if you've not heard of them before, is you get 120 grams of yarn inspired by a cupcake, and you also get a collaboration. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm working with some notions makers as a collaboration. So this is the May Cupcake Club, and you also get a recipe. So May was inspired by Earl Grey and lemon cupcakes, although I completely realised, and if you've received one of these, I'm so sorry, that I used completely the wrong photograph when I had the cards printed. So that isn't actually the Earl Grey and lemon cupcake picture, but apologies for that. By the time I realised it was far too late, and I figured you'd rather have them on time. The recipe is completely right for Earl Grey and lemon, it's just the image that is wrong. So you get the recipe, so obviously the ingredients on the front and the instructions on the back. And these are kind of lovely recipe cards that you can keep. You then get the yarn, which is inspired by the cupcake. So this is the Earl Grey and lemon yarn. So it was a lovely grey base with speckles of yellow on it, and it came with a lovely yellow mini. And then my collaborator for May was Crafty Cat Knitty Bits, and she created us a lovely little stitch marker set with a little progress keeper and 2 little stitch markers. So yeah, that's kind of what you get in the club. And I think I've got, looking at it, I've got 3 left, and they are currently listed online as spares. So they are available to purchase. But the July Cupcake Club is also listed as a pre-order. And yeah, you'll get the recipe card, you'll get the yarn, and you'll get a lovely progress keeper from Indy at Front Pocket Studios. And Indy creates the, I've got one here. She does these hand-drawn resin stitch markers, these ones here. So I love these, they're so lightweight, and she's doing them on the lever back. Let's take it off, shall we? She's doing them on the lever back ones as well, which are fantastic. So this is one of hers. These lovely, they're so lightweight. I love her stitch markers, really, really lovely. And they're all hand drawn individually. Fantastic. So yeah, go and buy Cupcake Club because they're not selling very well. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, right, what else? Shop news. Oh, I was going to show you a couple of samples that I've had made because they are beautiful and they deserve to be shown. So the first sample, which if you came to Leeds or Aberdeen you would have seen, is this gorgeous Wakiro, is it Wakiro? It's Wakiro, I can never remember how to pronounce it. Yeah, gorgeous Wakiro cowl. And this is a pattern by Aroha Knits, who is teaching at Perth, and I think there are still spaces on some of her classes. And it is just this gorgeous cowl pattern. It's knit flat and then you button it at the back. I'll pop it on. And it is, yeah, it's just stunning, really gorgeous. Lovely lace pattern. Kind of feel like I need to come a bit closer and come up a bit so you can see it better. And it's got this lovely tassel on the end. So yeah, such a lovely pattern. So I'm really pleased to have that as a sample. And this was knit out of my hopscotch colourway, which is one of the spring garden colourways. And then the other sample that just arrived, and it arrived just after Aberdeen, but it is here ready for Perth. I should have to work out front and back. Is this gorgeous shawl. Here we go. And this is the Drifter shawl, which is a pattern by Tammy Gore. And isn't that absolutely beautiful? And this has been knit out of my two of my semi-solids. So this has been knit out of Spearmint and Storm Cloud, both of which are available in the shop at the moment and are very regular colourways. But I absolutely love how this is knit up. Really, really beautiful shawl. So that is another lovely sample that has just arrived. So these will be getting tucked away, ready for Perth, which unbelievably is in, let's see, we've got July, August, less than 3 months until Perth. That's quite scary. And then I just did a couple of little crochet, little tiny samples. So I did a little fingerless mitt for my spring garden self-striping. And then for the new rainbow self-striping, I've just done a little, to be honest, I'm calling it a wrist warmer, but it's mostly just a tube, a little tube so that you can see how those knit up. But yeah, really, really happy with some of my little samples. But yeah, that's it for shop news then, really. Just me rambling about what's in the shop at the moment. Oh, and self-striping. I haven't updated the shop with any self-striping after the show, the June shows, because I kind of need to hold on to it all for Perth. I have got quite a chaotic 3 months. Arthur has got another week and a half of school and then he breaks up for the summer holidays. So he's off from the end of June until mid-August, because Scottish school holidays are slightly different. So he goes back to school mid-August. So I've basically got 6 weeks with both children at home. Jasper's lovely childminder has handed in her resignation. She will not be childminding anymore. I'm really pleased for her because she's got a place doing teacher training and she's going to make an amazing teacher. So she's going on to do better things, which is fantastic. But it does mean that I don't, as of the end of term, I don't have a childminder. So I kind of need to work out what I'm going to do. So I've definitely got 6 weeks over the summer with both children at home and no work days, which is going to be quite challenging. And then I'll only have kind of, once Arthur goes back to school, I'll only have kind of 2 or 3 weeks before Perth. So basically, I've got kind of, yeah, the next 3 months, I've got Perth to prep for, and I've probably got both my children at home full time. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. But all of that to say, I need to hold on to the stripes. I came back from my shows with quite a lot of stripes. They weren't as popular as I was expecting them to be at the shows. I think it was just the nature of different shows, different things are more popular. That bit of hair is driving me mad. But as a result of that, it does mean that if I hold on to them and don't update the shop, then I haven't got as much that is going to be needing, that I'm going to need to dye for Perth, if that makes sense. So yeah, after Perth, I will be doing a massive shop update with all the self-striping that doesn't sell. So yeah, if you can hold on until kind of September, October time, there will be lots of self-striping going in the shop. Anyway, enough rambling. I will leave it there, and hopefully, in fact, if you can let me know in the comments down below how you felt that the lighting was and stuff like that, I think it's been a lot better. I feel like it's been a lot better. I feel like when I've shown you things close up, the colours have been fantastic and they've been a lot more visible. Hopefully my little backdrop is a little bit better. I have got a few more pictures that I want to put up. I just haven't actually got them in the frames yet. But yeah, let me know if you think it is an improvement. I think it is. I think it is much better. So hopefully that will be good. And yeah, please like and subscribe, and I will see you again hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. See you all soon. Bye.